It's
not like we're doing surgery here or anything, you know?
no, that's right. So, good afternoon, gentlemen, Steve and Chris. Welcome. We are recording this as a live session as part of the AI Academy. We will give everyone just a minute or two to rock in here and join us for what I anticipate will be a rather interesting discussion on how we're using voice agents in businesses, and certainly this technology has evolved at a rapid rate, and the capability now is far more advanced than it ever has been. So I'm looking forward to hearing your insights and your journey, Steve and Chris, and running through some of the technology as we go. We do, hi everyone. So we do have chat, it is working, fantastic news. If you have any questions during the course of this webinar over the next hour, please drop them into the chat and we'll do our best to weave them into the discussions that we are going to have. So it's fantastic to see you all there. My name's Justin Flitter. I'm the founder of NewZealand.ai. We started in 2017 to help businesses understand why, where, and how to be utilizing artificial intelligence. There's three pillars to our business. We do a lot of public speaking and go to a lot of conferences and do workshops to accelerate awareness and adoption. We work with executive leadership teams on governance, operationalization, use cases, strategy, those sorts of things. And we're doing skills-based training at scale through our academy, which you are all a member of. So let's get started. I will give you both an opportunity to just introduce yourself. Steve, if you could kick us off. Tell us a little bit about who Steve Reck is and your history with and journey with AI and where you're at today.
Oh, thanks, Justin. As he said, my name is Steve Reck. I have a company called Global Direct International, which I've been really in the call center business in some way, shape, or form for about 30 some years, which makes me pretty much Mesozoic, I think, in terms of the AI space. I've come at it more from a user standpoint than from the tech side. So I was looking for ways to, I won't say replace people, but find some people that were very, very reliable and predictable and could follow instructions. And that's kind of how I got into AI. I used it for myself in an agency that I run. And then I've started really in the last year and a half moving it out to some other people around the place.
Nice. And so what are some of the systems and the technology? What does that look like now in terms of what you're seeing or what you're deploying into the contact center space?
Well, I think in the beginning, it was a lot of people just wanted an IVR with a little bit of intelligence. So somebody that can answer the phone and maybe direct a call somewhere. Now it's not only answer the phone or direct the call, but it's answer the questions, it's help the people, try to give them something that's useful. I've got some people that have a Shopify store and they've got a catalog they send out, and sort of quarterly, once a quarter, they get 10 or 20 phone calls from people in the catalogs that didn't really want to use the website. Originally, it was just sort of like, can you do something better than an answering machine? And now we've got it to the point where it just talks to them about the catalog. So if they say, hey, I see this dress on page 5, the agent will go, okay, do you like that in blue or do you like that in red? And can talk sizes with them and ultimately take an order if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, it's remarkable, eh?
Crazy.
Chris, joining us from Bali, incredibly jealous. You joined us on the AI Roadshow last year. You talked a little bit and introduced us to some of the AI agents and the work that you were doing. Update us on your journey and where you are at building this technology, specifically in the healthcare space, right?
That's right. That's right. Perfect. So yeah, I'm Chris. I've been in real estate actually previous to this and for 5 years, and I was basically just on the phones all that time and picking up calls, and I really wanted to try and find a way to not have to do those calls myself. So that's when I started exploring things, exploring technologies, and I came across AI calling, and that just amazed me. So that was about 2.5 years ago. And at that point, it wasn't quite commercially viable. So about a year and a bit ago, it did become commercially viable. That's when I launched an agency trying to help just any industry that we could find and help to build AI phone answering solutions and also sales solutions for them. At the end of last year, we helped a medical practice and a clinic to build an AI receptionist for them. And that was integrated with a particular CRM system. And that sort of went nuts. They referred it to all of their colleagues, and basically a business was built from that. So now we fully focus on the healthcare industry, and we just build AI receptionists for clinics across the world, which is really cool. So that's what we're currently doing. We're supporting over 250 customers worldwide at the moment, and we've taken probably over 50,000 calls now, which is amazing.
Oh, it's remarkable, right? So what are the types of calls that your AI receptionist is answering?
So these are all patient calls coming into medical centers. It can do three things, three main things. So it can book, manage, and cancel all appointments. So with the CRM system of the clinic, it can also answer frequently asked questions. So it's trained on all the knowledge about your practitioner's experience on all the services that they offer, and it's able to converse and have real conversations around that and share that information. And then thirdly, it's able to take messages. So if someone wants to speak to a particular practitioner about a prescription or anything like that, then it can take a message and send it through to that practitioner as well.
Awesome. The calls that you never want to miss, right? Like
That's right.
those are the
That's right.
things
Yeah.
that, as a business, you just don't want to be. You don't want to be missing those calls. And I guess pre AI, if you've just got one person on the desk and they're busy, then those calls are going to the answer phone or they're just ringing off, and so you don't capture that engagement, right?
The flip
Um,
side of that too is it's also the calls that you don't always want to make. So you can use it to do a lot of top of funnel calls that are just basic qualifying calls for people that your salespeople are looking at each other like, really, am I dialing this person or are you dialing this person? Instead, you take that out of the equation, put an AI caller in there, and they get a great pitch every time.
Right. So there's the outbound side of it, right? So
Yeah.
Chris largely is working on kind of the inbound
Right.
appointments, management, that kind of thing. Steve, what you're talking about there is potentially that outbound pre-call qualification, booking a customer in for a test drive on the car yard. I think we probably many of us might have seen. A couple of examples. Now, I can't remember whether it was Bland AI or something else, which was just this incredibly realistic sales agent booking people in for a Tesla test drive, right? And there was a little bit of latency, and admittedly, this is probably a year ago now, but there was a little bit of latency. I imagine that the quality of the voice and the fluidity of the conversation now is almost indistinguishable from a human. Steve, how are you kind of feeling that with the tech at the moment?
Oh, look, it's definitely better. And if I said, look, I'm going to play this AI call for you, you would come back and say, oh yeah, I could tell.
Yes.
But if I didn't tell you that and you got a call, in fact, many of us on this have probably had calls that we didn't realize it. And a lot of it comes down to, was the call interesting to you? Because nobody cares what anything is, and they only care what it will do for them. So if you get a call out of the blue, you answer, and somebody's got an interesting thing to say, an offer for you, or you did request some information, you're going to lock in more on what they're saying than on the fact that whether they're a real person or not. Because we've all had some pretty bad telemarketing calls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like that's the barrier to doing something. There's a lot of bad calls and still bad callers out there. So it really comes down to, is your message matched to the person who's answering the phone? And if it is, then I think that almost indistinguishable from human is really true.
Yeah. So we're gonna we've got a couple of Chris is gonna do some demos so we can kind of hear what some of these things are like. We'll do that soon after we've kind of run through a few of these questions. Now, so Anthony, Anthony asked Q&A. People I've been talking to much prefer talking to a real human. Some hate getting put through to a robot, right? And that can be detrimental. And this is kind of where I'm trying to get to around how natural these voices sound and the interaction sounds. So Chris, how are you, with the systems and the technology that you're putting together, how are you addressing that?
Yeah, sure. I think a lot of people, when they think of an AI system and they hear about this technology, they actually mistake it for something that's been around for a while. And it's called an IVR system. And what that is, it's what all the banks use when you call in and it says, hey, can you please explain in one word what the problem is? Or maybe it says, please press 1 for this, or please press 2 for that. So these systems are more bot systems that are kind of like chatbots. They're very rigid, and they don't allow you to converse naturally, like in a human language conversation. So that is a big mistake a lot of people make. And I think it's actually just more of an educational thing. So when people say that they would just prefer speaking to a human, here's what I'd say. I mean, if you had to call a medical center at 6 p.m. and they were closed, would you rather have to wait until the next morning to call them? Or would you rather have an AI receptionist that's there and can help you? I mean, it's able to answer 24/7. If there were 5 calls coming in at the same time, one human receptionist, would only be able to answer one of them, whereas an AI would be able to answer all of them at the same time. So it's not that it's replacing humans. All it's doing is allowing humans to focus on helping in-person customers and doing in-person things, whereas the AI receptionist and AI phone services are here to just support what we need and help us get our service faster.
Absolutely. If you polled 10 people on the street and said, would you rather talk to a robot or a person? You're going to get 10 yeses to the person.
Yes.
But again, it comes down to the delivery of the service. If you make a call to someone or somebody calls you and they can help and they navigate you through what you need, then you're going to think that was a good experience. If you get a call from a human who can't help you, you're still going to think that's a bad experience.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to. It's really designing the experience that the people are going to have, whether you're calling them or they're calling you.
So what, Steve, in the systems that you're implementing, how are you training these systems? How are you providing contextualization so that it's not an IVR, it's not an if this then that, it's actually conversational, to be able to where you've got an AI agent that's able to do multiple different tasks and workflows. How are you kind of finding that? What does that training program look like?
Well, that training program looks pretty similar to the training program for a human. I mean, the first thing I would always say is, first of all, has this job been done by a human in the past, or is this something like that? If it has, okay, what are the training materials you have? What did you need that person to know in order to perform this job really well? And if you're talking about like product sheets and things like that, I think I mentioned earlier, we put a whole catalog as a knowledge base. So within a minute, all of a sudden, my robot can tell you, what's on page 5 and dress sizes and things like that. So it's really, a lot of it comes back to the person that wants to implement these. How much do they think the person needs to know, and do they have this material in their businesses? A lot of people don't have training programs. A lot of people would say, "Hey, you're on your first day on the job. Just go over there and answer the phone.
Figure it out."
Yeah. So we like to go a little bit further. Just we build up some knowledge bases, some things to know, in an outbound environment. If you've got objections, we're going to go and get to the objection handlers and things like that, and give it a background. So. And the beauty of it is, as soon as you make a change to any one of those things, it's live.
Yes.
So you don't have to sit there with a person, role play it 100 times, and know that the next time they're on the phone, it's not going to be as good as it should be. Whereas with for one of your voice agents, they're ready to roll.
So one of the remarkable things with large language models sitting in behind all of this is that these tools can be multilingual. Chris, is that something that you're working on or have already integrated? If someone calls up, speaking Cantonese or Samoan or Tongan or anything, like can these systems handle multilingual calls now?
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. And here's the thing as to why we haven't implemented it yet for our customers. And the reason being is it's speed. And what I mean by that is, in terms of the large language models, we're actually using small language models. Why? Because they're faster. They're faster at processing this content. And so it makes the response time of that call and those responses faster over the phone. And it's very similar to the multilingual thing. We use one of the sort of the best, as we feel, the best voice provider out there, which is 11 Labs. And they do have a multilingual capability of generating lifelike, humanistic, lifelike speech. However, if you turn on multilingual, their multilingual model, that generation is a lot slower. And so right now, we're not allowing for multilingual capabilities because of that speed. It's not quite there yet. It will come for sure, but we're holding off for now.
Yeah. So look, I'm glad you mentioned 11 Labs, because that's one of my favorite tools out there for the voice cloning work, it's remarkable. But I mean, even on the AI New Zealand website, we've got a voice agent. It's a chat bot, if you like, but it's not text, it's voice activated. Now, we've been able to build that very, very easily using our library of information, and it is multilingual. If you can chat to it any language you like. Now, I could add a phone number into that, and people could get on the phone, and it would answer any question that it can from that body of knowledge that we've given it. So I think it's really, really interesting. Now, Julian's asked a question, which was my next question. So he must be really telepathic. Steve, when people are calling in and the phone is answered by an AI system, should that be transparent? As part of that interaction, are you disclosing that, hey, it's, Susan here, I'm an AI agent for XYZ, How important do you think it is that is, transparent around that?
I'm not sure. I leave that up to the people whose agent, the customer's agent is going to be, whether they want to do it or not. Some people have strong feelings about it, some don't. I don't think it changes the service level that the people get. It's really just personal preference.
Yeah, interesting.
We made about 1,000 outbound calls, and we had like 2 people ask, "Are you an AI?" And if it was asked in that campaign, if it was asked, we then came and said, "Yes, I am." We didn't lie about it, but we just never disclosed it.
Chris, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll share our thoughts on that. So in terms of outbound, I would actually 100% agree with Steve. It's in terms of outbound, you're trying to get the highest ROI on the calls, right? And And I think we've done over 20,000 outbound calls as well when we were doing that last year for different customers. And for sure, there were much better results by not sharing that it was AI. And from my understanding, there are no laws in place in New Zealand and Australia in terms of disclosing that you're using an AI product yet. There for sure will be soon. In terms of inbound, we found it much more beneficial to include that you're sharing that they are speaking with an AI system. And it's not just for disclosure reasons. It's actually the whole call flow goes so much smoother if you do that single thing. I'm talking about, for instance, if a user thinks it's a human, they're going to start doing small talk. They're going to start doing all this lengthy conversation that you'd usually have with a human, which can be done with an AI. But as soon as someone realizes they're speaking to an AI, maybe they hear something, they feel cheated, they feel sort of a bit ripped off, and it doesn't bode well for a good relationship, especially with the business that's using this system. So we highly recommend to all of our customers to always disclose that it's an AI system. And all that has to be done is, as the name of the system, it would be, hi, this is Ava, an AI receptionist from the medical center. That's all it needs to be. But as long as you're just sharing that information, I think it's very valuable.
Okay, so let's take a little bit of a segue in here. We've got some questions kind of coming in around this topic. So it kind of starts off with, we spoke about, training data and providing a knowledge base for these systems to be able to have conversations and to answer content from. How do you eliminate or reduce the opportunity for those AI systems to hallucinate? Hallucinate, I mean, get information muddled up from that particular knowledge base. So we're not at pulling data from a database or meetings just yet. We'll get to that, but we kind of hear of RAG, retrieval augmentation generation, or creating a RAG graph. But what are the techniques that you're using or processes that you're deploying to make sure that there is a high degree of accuracy in the agent's responses? Steve?
Well, we do a couple of things. I think for us, it's more about the prompting, and the prompting is be careful when you're repeating things or when you're retrieving something from a knowledge base, be certain of it. So we've kind of more from a prompting than really a very technical side of it. My experience has been less about getting things wrong than sometimes missing a step in a process. That's been my experience more than anything.
Chris?
We pulled our hair out at this for so long because 100%, it's something that's bound to happen with AI systems and LLMs. That's just the nature of it. They do hallucinate. They do make up things. So we got to a point where we could do as much as we could with prompting, but there were still issues. There were still issues that were appearing. And so what we did, and it's something that I haven't seen very, very much out there, but we sort of figured out a way to, and we called it our fact engine checker. And so how it worked is it made a tool call. So once it needed to collect a piece of information from maybe the knowledge base in which it was taking information from, we actually used a fact checker, which was a second AI model that checked that the information that it was pulled and that it was about to share was actually correct, and it wasn't something that was just hallucinated. So we've implemented that into our system, and particularly the big issue we found was around sharing available times to customers when they wanted to book an appointment. And that was a big sort of moment where it could hallucinate because there were just so many times that it could think about and create. So that's where we implemented that. And since then, we've never had to have a hallucination issue again. So it's worked really well.
Right. So you've got a checking loop in there, right? Which is
exactly
which is going to increase the accuracy. So you you kind of mentioned on the next part of this conversation, right, which is being able to pull data. So it might be availability, it might be customer records. How do you make sure that the AI system is pulling the record for that customer, and not pulling a record for a different customer, which of course will be a data privacy breach? How are you making sure that you're providing some accuracy around those things, right? So, Chris?
Sure. So in terms of connecting to systems, this is still quite a manual process in terms of you have to use what's called an API, and this is what developers use to connect two systems together. Now, to ensure that we're collecting the right data, there has to be some sort of point of difference for each customer that's calling in. So how it works is when a customer calls in, their phone number is checked within the database of our client. So I'll rephrase this example. So let's say you've got a medical center, which is who we work with, and their patient calls in. Now that phone number that the patient's calling in from is going to be checked against the records of patients within that medical center. If it exists, it's going to be able to greet the caller by name. So it's going to say, hey, Justin, thanks for calling in. How can I help you today? And it already, because of that phone number, it's identified and it knows all of your future appointment details. It can pull that up if needed. If you said, yeah, I was wanting to book a new appointment with Gary, it would say, great, I saw that you booked a physiotherapist appointment last time. Is that the same one you wanted to book this time? And so it's able to identify all of that information using your phone number as a unique identifier, which is cool.
Steve, is that kind of a similar way to the way you're seeing access to customer data being applied, or is there other ways?
We generally will ask them, even though we have the information that Chris is talking about, we know the number they're calling from, because we worked with a lot of businesses. We started just asking them for their phone number or whatever the unique thing is first, and then once we get it back, we would then our first check. So this is Steve, or this is Justin, or whoever. Even though we could have shortcut the process, but it seemed like it was a little friendlier and gave us that second check for privacy. A lot of businesses, when you're calling them, they all call from the same number, the same DID. So we had to go through some checks on that instead of just dealing with consumers. But in general, that's what.
So what happens if a customer's calling from a different number? Like, is there another kind of checking process or something like that? I guess what we're getting to is the risk here is when you're dealing with, personally identifiable information, what are the processes or the triggers that you have in the workflows to make sure that you are actually interacting with the person that you want to
pretty similar to if you were calling in any manual person. If you call a bank, they want to know something about you. If you call somebody else, do you have an account number or whatever? We try to get them to tell us that. Then we go do the lookup with the API like Chris was talking about. Come back and say, okay, so this is Justin we're speaking with. And that gives you a chance to either say yes or no, and then we can move forward from there.
Anything else you want to add into that, Chris?
Yeah. So we look up patients. So if they're calling from like a landline number, for instance, we'd look them up or offer to look them up using their full name, date of birth, and the number that their account would be registered to. So using those pieces of information, we can correctly identify who the patient is, pull up their information, and be able to converse from there.
Yeah. So, Roy, just to your question, I think what we're saying here is that, given the integrations that these systems have with within those businesses, that there should be there should not be any risk of someone's account getting mixed up, right? Because we've got some very clear data points. Now, there are always going to be, I guess in situations like this, you've got to think about all sorts of different variations that could happen. Someone could be calling from a landline that might be connected to multiple people's accounts. There's all these sort of scenarios, and so these are the checks and balances that you're weaving into the system to make sure that we're actually providing the right information to the right person. I guess would be the way to go. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm keen to just looking through some of my questions here. So, at what point do these AI agents, AI caller agents, need to hand off? Like, can you give me an example, Steve, of like a trigger or a scenario? Where does the engagement with an AI agent stop and it needs to be passed on to somebody, a human, who can solve something that's more technical? How fluid is that? How often is that happening?
For the stuff that I deal with, it's pretty rare, especially if you're sort of a top of funnel outbound prospecting. There's not a lot. A lot of it will be, hey, can I speak to your manager or something like that? And you get somebody that's a little bit upset or something like that. In which case, we've got a function where we can just go and transfer the call to somebody. Do a little warm transfer and then say, hey, this is Steve. He's mad about being called. Hopefully you can handle it, Justin. Thank you for your time, and get on to the next one.
Yeah, right. Chris, handoff from an agent to a human. How does that work?
Yeah, cool. So there's a few circumstances where you're able to leave a message for maybe a human receptionist to give you a call back. So those handoffs would be, if a question's asked that it doesn't have the answer to, that's going to be a message taken, sent through to the admin team to follow up on. Second reason is if someone wants to speak to someone directly. And third reason, of course, is if someone says, no, I don't want to speak to an AI receptionist, I want to speak to a human or someone, a person. And so those three circumstances are the trigger points where it would go, hey, no problem at all. Let me leave a priority message for you, and I'm going to email it through to our team to come back to you.
There was a time also you might do that if you were taking orders and there was going to be a credit card number or something like that. For a while, it wasn't really easy to do that. We've sort of moved to just emailing links so that then they can just click online and pay for it that way. But that would have been another reason to sometimes hand off to a human if you were going to deal with credit card information or something uniquely personal.
Okay, so Steve, in your experience, how easy is it now to be deploying this technology into companies? What are the costs that people should be kind of aware of? Is it a complex process? Is it relatively trivial? Tell us around kind of what your experience is, deploying this into businesses.
Well, I think it can be as complex as you want to make it, but it can also be as easy as you want to make it. The biggest thing I think certainly we run into is how many other systems does it need to interact with to do the job you want it to do? And then the second part of that question is, do you have not so much control, but do you have access to that system through an API? I mean, you can get somebody making phone calls in probably an hour because the calls are going to be recorded. We're going to get some information. We're going to put them in. We're going to send you that information in some way. But if you need to update CRMs and things like that, it just takes a little bit of planning. It's still not incredibly difficult for those of us that know how to do it, but it's pays more to do some planning up front to say, well, is it necessary or is it beneficial? A lot of people will start out just let's make some calls and see the reaction to the AI agent.
And so when you're when you've got the AI agent taking or making calls, like you said, those calls are recorded. There's a transcript. How much of that knowledge base from those call transcripts is being used then to refine, to train, to upskill the agents?
Man, you should be using it as much as you can, because you should be reviewing it, especially if there's things where either somebody's getting stuck on, or if you get to a certain part of the process and people are hanging up. That's something to always look for. or if you find that the agents, I had a funny story the other day in a market research application. The agent was just asking a real simple question about male or female, and it kept interpreting male as MAIL. You know, it would say, "I'm sorry, I think you've given me a wrong answer." So you saw two of those. You're like, "Wait a minute, we got to change something here." And we changed it and got it in. So yeah, you should certainly in the beginning you should be looking at your transcripts pretty regularly and setting up some flags for how things are progressing. But I think the biggest thing that limits people is just they're somehow afraid that like a bad call is going to ruin their business when they've got human agents making bad calls all day long.
Yeah, I mean, look, the consistency should be lifted up, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And knowing what was said.
Yeah. So, you know, the other thing is, so you're, Chris, I'm coming to you. So,
Sure.
you know, your AI system is working with or, you know, processing some of that customer data that's sitting inside your clients' businesses. You know, how do you create a bit of a wall there between, you know, their data infrastructure and your AI systems? Because there's certain information that you'll want to collect to be able to train and improve the models, or not, and there will certainly be information that will be flowing through the AI that will be PII and sensitive information. So how do you make sure that there's a wall there so that you can, you know, maintain that customer data within the client's tenancy, if you like?
Yeah, sure. Now with healthcare data, it's even more important. Like it's even stricter. It's even more vital to get this right. So we have to comply with HIPAA compliance, with GDPR, with New Zealand privacy, with Australian privacy. So there's a heap of compliance that we have to go through. In terms of what you actually have to do, you have to make sure all the data is stored in the right places, in approved locations. You have to make sure that you're only saving data that's vital for the system operation, and that could be call recordings and that sort of thing. So it's just about disclosure to the customers, making sure that they're completely aware of what you store, why you store it, and why it's necessary. And for us, you know, that those transcripts, a lot of the time, they are necessary for us to improve and make a good service for them. So yeah, the only data that we store is two pieces of information. It's phone numbers and it's also CRM IDs of customers. So it's actually a very small amount of information that's ever stored, and it's deliberately like that to limit any risks.
Yeah, right. Okay. Whoops. Steve, was there a call that you wanted to play or a demo to showcase for us?
Oh, I could probably come up with something. What would you like to hear?
So given Chris has got kind of the inbound with the receptionist, is there
Right.
one that you could play for us that's kind of the sales agent, if you like?
Yeah, look, I've got an insurance sort of prospecting call that
Yeah.
you could probably listen to. What do I need to do to play it?
You should be able to share screen. You might have to share screen, and hopefully we can hear the audio.
Just while Steve's doing that, I'm going to be sharing basically how to create your own phone answering, like little receptionist for your own phone in about 5 minutes. So I'll share my screen and we can go through that in a bit as well, which would be cool for everyone on
Cool.
here.
Do you want me to play this now, or?
Yeah, go for it.
Anything happening? No?
you might have to share the application that this sort of just opened, what it's playing on.
Okay, hold on. Stop sharing there. You'd think we rehearsed this, huh?
Live demos.
That's right. There we go. You hear that?
No, can't hear that.
Okay.
Okay. Whoops. Let's
Why don't you go to Chris and come back to me, and then
yeah.
I'll,
So let's what's
actually no, I found it here. There's a box that says also share system audio. You know, if you just read the instructions. Give it one more play. How about now?
Nope.
All right, well, come back to me.
Sorry about that. Okay, so what are the monitoring tools or processes do you follow to make sure that your AI bot is behaving accordingly? Like, I guess this is checks and balances on their responses.
Yeah, cool. So we actually use another AI to review all the calls that sort of come through, and we get them to sort of rate it. And so if there was an issue in a call, we'd be notified by this AI that we've set up to review all of our calls. And that way we can just keep track. Whenever there's an issue, we go, okay, right, what's happened here? Review it, get to the bottom of it, and make sure everyone's across the board on it. So yeah, we actually use AI to do that process as well.
Cool. All right, Chris, floors are yours. Run through. Let's take us through what you wanted to show us in terms of the demo.
Okay, I've got two things. So you can let me know which one you'd like to see first, Justin. So we've got first the demo of how an AI receptionist would answer a call for a medical center. And we've also got the DIY where I'm just going to show you how to build your very own like voicemail replacement AI phone answering system.
Okay, let's do the DIY first, and then cool. we'll listen to a call after.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen.
We did test the audio for you before, so hopefully it's working.
We did. Yeah. No, it should be working. So this here is VAPI. This is what we use as the infrastructure to build all of our systems. Now, it says it's for developers, but you can really build some more simple systems within this as well very easily. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. But just so you're aware what we're using, it's vapi.ai. So we highly recommend this. It's very, very reliable. So this is inside VAPI, and how it works is you just have to create an assistant. So I'm going to go ahead, create an assistant, and call it Chris's voicemail. So I'm going to start from a very blank template, just so you can see how easy it is to literally create an AI sort of phone answering service, just very simply. So you can see here that it's basically like ChatGPT. You can think of it. You've got to prompt what you want the AI assistant to do. And so VAPI have very smartly put in here an AI generation model of this prompt. So what I want to do is put in a pre-made just request for this AI to create a whole agent for me. So what it's saying is create an AI phone answering service that answers calls and takes messages on behalf of Chris Baxter, myself. Ensure to tell callers that Chris is currently on the New Zealand AI conference call with Justin and Steve. So that's going to be put in there. That's all I'm submitting. And it's creating here, as you can see, this whole prompt. So I can accept that prompt, and that's all in there now. So I'm not even going to review that at this stage. I trust that it'll be good enough for now. What would I like the first message to say for the AI assistant? Hi, this is Ava, an AI receptionist for Chris Baxter. How can I help you today? And then I'm also going to change the voice to one that is that I like. It's a private voice from my company, but we'll use that one anyways. Okay, so just created an AI calling agent in about 2 minutes. Now I'm going to talk to this agent and we'll see how it works.
Hi, this is Ava, an AI receptionist for Chris Baxter. How can I help you today?
Yeah, hi Ava. I wanted to speak to Chris. It's quite urgent actually.
Hello, thank you for calling. I understand the urgency, but Chris Baxter is currently unavailable as he's attending the New Zealand AI conference with Justin and Steve. I'd be happy to take a message and pass it along to Chris promptly. Could I please get your name and contact information? Also, let me know the details you'd like me to share with him.
Yeah, sure. So this is Justin Flitter calling, and I just wanted to leave a message with Chris to share that I'm better at creating voice agents than he is.
Thank you. Just to confirm, your name is Justin.
Yeah, that's right.
Physical?
No, Flitter.
Thank you,
So Flitter.
Thank you, Justin Flitter, spelled Flitter. I've got that down. And just to confirm the message, you'd like Chris to know that you believe you're better at creating voice agents than he is. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Also,
amazing.
could I please get... Thank you for confirming. Lastly, may I take a good contact number or email address for Chris in case he needs to reach out to you?
Just use the one I'm calling from. Thanks, Ava.
Got it. Got it. I'll note down the number you're calling from. Thank you, Justin Flitter. I'll be sure to pass this message along to Chris as soon as possible. Have a
Now
great
you're
day, and don't
impersonating me.
hesitate to call back if there's anything else.
Absolutely. So there you go. That's a little demo for you guys. You there,
Nice one.
Justin?
I like it.
Yeah.
What a I expect that there's kind of cost per call or things like that you've got, or other things. Like, what are some of the, if you're looking to set up an agent using VAPI or something like that, like what are some of the costs that you could expect, both at a subscription and a usage cost? Is it trivial, or is it something to be
Yeah,
said?
sure. Well, as Steve mentioned before, like a quick overview on what you should expect to pay for systems like this if you wanted someone else to build it versus if you built it, and the complexity. You're going to pay a lot of money in terms of maybe 10,000 plus if you're wanting a system that connects to CRMs, that connects to all these different softwares that are currently out there. If you're just wanting an AI receptionist that doesn't connect to any systems like I've just built, so all that can do is send me an email after to share about the call that was just made, then it's not going to cost a lot, and you can probably even do it yourself, like I just showed you, very simply. So for something like that, you might pay possibly around $1,000, $2,000 for someone else to do it. And ongoing usage, you do charge and pay per minute. So that's probably going to be around about the 20 cents mark, probably NZD per minute, I would say. And then additional services on top of that might cost more, but that's probably your base price.
Yeah. Nice one. All right, give us an AI receptionist workflow.
Okay, sure. Okay, so this is a demo, and I'm going to do the New Zealand accent for us as well. This New Zealand accent was custom trained by my company. We hired a New Zealand female receptionist, and we did a voice clone as well. So you'll be able to hear that here. And this is a demonstration of what we use for our customers picking up clinic calls.
Hi, this is Sophie from the Wellness Clinic. How can I help you today?
Yeah, hey Sophie, I was on a run the other day and really hurt my back. I was hoping for an appointment, please.
I'm sorry to hear about your back injury. Let's get you some help. What type of appointment would you like to book? We offer physiotherapy sessions, which can be great for back injuries, or we can arrange a consultation to assess your needs further.
Yeah, I think I'm ready to do a physio session. And do you have any times tomorrow at all?
Thank you. Do you have a preference for who you'd like to see, or would you like me to check availability for any physiotherapist?
Yeah, anyone would be fine.
All right, we have availability tomorrow at 12:30 p.m., 3 p.m., or 4:30 p.m. Would any of these times work for you?
Yeah, 4 p.m. would be fantastic, please.
Thank you. Can I please have your first and last name to book the appointment?
Yeah, it's Chris Baxter.
Thank you, Chris Baxter. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, that's the one.
Great, Chris. Is the number you're calling from the best contact number for you?
That's correct.
Thank you, Chris. You're all booked in for a physiotherapy session tomorrow at 4 p.m. I'll send a confirmation via text, including a few things to note before your appointment. Let me know if there's anything else I can help with.
Amazing. Thanks for your help. See ya. Cool. So that's a quick demo of our system. That's how that works.
So pretty nice and fluid, right? Pretty.
For sure.
Pretty engaging.
It's taken that many calls to be honest, and I think with any system, like if you were planning to build your own AI receptionist or anything like that, you've just got to expect a lot of calls at the start. There's going to be issues. There's going to be things that you want to tweak and improve, and that's just a process of time and usage, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely never perfect out of the box. That's for sure. That's for sure.
For sure.
So much better than the alternative.
Yeah,
exactly. Steve, put your crystal ball. Get out your crystal ball and give us some predictions. Where do you think? Do you think there's going to be rapid advancement in this technology? How do you kind of see this playing out in the next year or so in terms of capability for voice agents?
Well, it's only going to get better. I mean, the week-to-week improvements on some of this stuff is crazy. It's not as big improvements as you've probably seen over the last 6 months, where the voices have got really lifelike. But it's a lot of the latency stuff is going to get is really good. The whole multilingual thing is really probably about to explode. I mean, we've got agents that can speak Spanish and English and with no latency in terms of in mid conversation. So that'll only get better. And because most people are just coming into the game now, they probably won't see the improvements as much as somebody like Chris or I would. But yeah, it's only gonna get better.
Okay, so then if there's someone on this call or on this webinar or watching later thinking about deploying AI voice agents into their business, Steve, can you give us some wise words of advice, things that they should be thinking about, preparing as they go on that journey?
I always think a couple things. One, what sort of phone calls, either taking or making, would you make if cost wasn't the issue? I mean, there's all the reminder calls, all these things that we text people. How could we make that more personal? Look for areas like that. And then once you've decided on a few things that you want to do, how would I train somebody ideally? What are the resources that they would need? And kind of get those together in my mind. And that way you can have a good conversation with somebody like myself or Chris.
So it's not just about the calls that you currently take or make. It's the calls that you would like to be able to do if you had the resource available, right?
Absolutely, especially if you're somebody my age. If you think back 10 or 15 years ago when people were much more phone-centric, what were the kind of things that you used to do in your business? Reminder calls are number one. Anybody that's doing appointment setting, that's just sending a text, it's really easy to forget those. But if somebody's calling, and then you can obviously leave customized voice messages even if they don't pick up, and all those kind of things. So that's definitely places that I would look to. And then all the things that your employees don't like to do either.
Lastly, it was thinking about the knowledge base to train that. So making sure that you've got all the information. And just as you've said, in terms of, if you were training a new employee to be doing these calls, what's the information that they would need to know to be able to do it? So making sure you've got all of that training information available.
Yeah, that's what I would be thinking.
Nice.
Because the more you have that together, and the more that you have a sort of process in mind, the easier it will be for everybody involved.
Nice one. Chris, over to you. What are you seeing? How do you imagine, how are you foreseeing this technology to evolve and grow over the near future?
Here's what I'm really excited about. There's going to be a point, and it's coming very soon, where you're going to be able to ask Siri or your voice assistant at home to book you a doctor's appointment. And it's going to be able to communicate with the doctor's AI phone answering service as well. And that process will be almost instant. And that's what I'm really excited for. It's actually, when everyone has an AI phone answering system, they're going to be able to connect. And there's technologies out there that we're looking at and that we're working with so that we can connect those, and the communication will just be instant.
Yeah, but those AI agents are not talking English or Spanish, are they? What are they?
For sure. This is very fast communication between the two. That's right.
Yeah, I think we've seen some examples where they start talking in their own language.
For sure. But in terms of businesses, like I would say a massive amount of businesses over the next few years are going to be adopting this technology, taking advantage of it, because you're able to answer calls after hours when if your competitors are doing it and you're not, then you're going to be at a disadvantage. So it's definitely something that if you're a business owner at the moment, you should be thinking about. You should be looking at, are there any options for my industry at the moment, and how can I get into this? And so that's what I'd be doing if I was a business owner as well.
Awesome.
It's also the idea that if you're out generating leads off a Facebook ad or something, and you've got them to fill out a form, what if you go and call them straight away, your speed to lead just decreases, and your chance of qualifying and getting them interest goes way up. And that doesn't matter. And you don't have to have just somebody sitting around waiting in a seat like, oh, let's see if the leads come in, I'll call them. It's an automatic process.
Yeah.
You want to hear an outbound call, Justin? I found another way of probably doing it. Do you want to hear an outbound call? Or?
Yeah, go for it.
Oops.
See if we can get the audio across this time.
It used to be 3 strikes and you're out. I'm just about there, right? You hear that?
No, sorry.
Yeah, 3 strikes, you're out.
Okay. Let's maybe you can send me through an audio file that we can add into the event so people can play it back afterwards. Look, Steve, Chris, thank you so much for joining us for this hour. I found it incredibly interesting and learnt a lot. Thanks to everyone who's joined the session as well. Thank you for your questions and comments and discussions for this deep dive into AI agents to answer or take calls and make calls for your business. It is a remarkable technology that is growing so quickly in terms of its capability, and certainly that multilingual space and the latency and the fluidity of the calls has accelerated, remarkably. So thank you both very much for your time. We all really appreciate it.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks, Justin. Hope to connect with everyone. Feel free to join us on LinkedIn.
Right. Thanks very much, everybody, and thank you all for attending. The recording for this will be up in about 5 minutes or so you'll be able to jump back and see you then. Cheers, team. See you next time.
Take care.